29th, 2026. We're in the Nauset Meeting Room at Town Hall. It is exactly 3 p.m. On the top of our agenda is the Zoom information for those that might want to join us virtually. There is also a dial-in number as well as a webinar ID. So I'll call us to order. Around the table is Select Board Member Andrea Shaw-Reed, Mev Runyon, myself, your chair, Kevin Galligan, and Molly Bates, our executive assistant. So we have, also Assistant Town Manager Mark Reel is on by Zoom. Welcome, Mark. So we've got just a few items on our agenda. This is a workshop meeting primarily to make some further progress on Select Board policies. I'll note on our agenda planner, we are also going to pick up anything left off on policies again on May 6th. So that's at 3 p.m. According to the planner. So we do have a little bit more time, but this was set up in our goals this year, and the fiscal year is coming to a close soon, or the handoff of leadership soon. So I know I, in fact, want to try to get through as much of these as possible. So,
You should get through them all.
Mev, I love your optimism. Absolutely. So, Mark, we have, Molly's put some things on the table. Do you want to just open with kind of what we might hope to accomplish today, and then maybe park a number of things so we don't get distracted today, and we'll pick up on our next meeting? So the floor
Sure.
is yours.
Well, thank you. So a couple of items. I know that the HR policies that Denise has been working on, she is unable to attend today and at the next meeting. So we're parking those, but they are in a good place. And I had asked her to put together a memo with all the work that she's done so that you all have time to look through those policies. So that's coming for you.
Great.
Additionally, we worked on a draft kind of comprehensive environmental policy that pulls in some of the existing policies related to the environment and climate, and added additional language that hasn't been existing in policy that I think the Select Board has been interested in, and the members of the public as well, and the Energy and Climate Action Committee have all kind of been talking about added policy. And so what you have before you is just that as a starting point to really start to go through. One thing that I will note, and I sent an email not too long ago, was that the version that was in your shared folder was not the most up-to-date in terms of the formatting. So you now have the formatted policy with just showing the different outline numbers, so that's easier to follow along. So that's in your shared folder now. And I don't know, Molly, were you able to print that for them? No. Okay. All right. Well, it's in your shared folder. So if you have your iPad, it's up there. But the language is the same. So the premise of that point is just to point out that there's a version that's easier for you to follow through. Mr. Chair, how would you like to proceed through this draft?
I'm thinking, Mark, just to actually feel like we've accomplished something today, could folks open what Mark did circulate in terms of the environmental sustainability climate action omnibus policy? And I think it'd be good to kind of review that. I know I have just one minor edit, but as Mark noted, there's a few that are really nothing more than just pulling into one umbrella policy, which allows everything to be in one place. But maybe we could take that one, you guys. Are you,
Sure.
Mark? Math's good. You too. So, Mark, I think why don't we dive into this one? And just again, for a process question for anybody listening, we have a few folks in the room. What we're hoping to do is through these workshops is tee this all up as one revised policy packet, and then put it on the full Select Board meeting for a full vote as one packet. So it'll be in the packet, and we'll see it. Andrea, I know your next meeting will be your last.
That's okay.
don't know
There's
that
new
we'll.
leadership coming. It's
There
fine.
is.
Very good.
But the idea is there'll still be another review of any of things
Yeah.
we might have missed in terms
I know
of.
how to send notes.
Exactly.
Right,
So,
good.
just trying to be mindful of everyone's
Here's
input.
Lynn, trying to get to Kevin.
Great.
Could you just summarize what's in this all-encompassing
Mhm.
environmental, because we don't have it unless
Right.
it's sort of leveraging H8.
It is.
It is leveraging, so what Lynn asked from the crowd here of two people in the audience is, Mark, what does this omnibus policy on environmental sustainability, climate action, either replace or fit in with? And it is, I believe,
You've got H8, which pulls in the fertilizer, pesticides, and herbicides policy. It also pulls in, I don't think it ever had a number, but the zero emissions vehicle first policy, which talks about our requirements under the Green Communities program to, well, actually, this one goes beyond green communities into the climate leaders requirements around when there's a vehicle that's not exempt under the green communities requirements. We first look at zero emissions vehicles like a plug-in, or I should say a battery electric vehicle option first. So that one is being wrapped into this. We also had a recycling policy that just made kind of general statements, and we've expanded on that in this document. Let me see if I have the number on that one. Let's see.
Page 1.
D2, recycling.
Yes, okay, so D2, that's been wrapped into this one. And then the native plantings policy is also pulled into this comprehensive policy as well. And would also mention that both the native plantings policy, the fertilizer, pesticide, and herbicide use policy, and the zero emissions vehicles first policy are verbatim as how they were. They're just brought into this as they've been written in the past. So there's no changes to the language in those three. They're just formatted into this comprehensive policy.
So, as Mark laid out, this is kind of a omnibus umbrella policy, so he nicely lays out the purpose, setting the tone, how the policy is put together and its intent, and kind of the first grouping is under recycling, waste reduction, and recycled product procurement. Any questions on that bundle?
Of statement on that if you have no
Sure.
questions.
Yep.
Yeah.
So on in section 4.1, which is the recycling commitment, that's basically what you were seeing in that D3 reference in your existing policy. And then in 4.2 and 4.3, that language is coming from
What we just got doesn't
Yeah.
have any
template
numbers.
template
It's the-
policy.
back.
Paragraph number.
Sorry.
Wait a minute. I want to get on the same page because my questions no longer correspond to the documents.
This was what was left here at my spot.
Okay.
Is that what which document are we?
It doesn't have that.
I was working with the latest one that Mark, oh, I see.
See, the correlation. So
And
I have,
I probably have the one that you're talking about, Kevin, but I gotta go.
but is it,
So
are we using the ones in our packet, the old ones? Or,
the language is the same. So
Okay.
recycling, waste reduction, and recycled product procurement.
yes, and I have a question about that.
Okay.
But I can't tell you what, originally it was
Right.
on page 1. when I
So
looked
under
at it.
paragraph recycling commitment, you see that?
So what?
You know what I think would be good?
The H what?
H8.
H8?
H8.
Right.
So maybe what would be good, I'm going to just unbundle my printout from Mark's version, run out and get copies as well for Lynn and Mary, so
Except it should be online, right?
It is,
But
but-
it won't include Lynn,
yeah.
yeah, and Mary, yeah,
just pause for 2 minutes.
okay. Well, can we ask Mark questions while you're, and
Yeah,
Steve?
I could go ahead, and I'll go after you.
Mark, I have a question with the old formatting, because I love this. I love what you've done.
Can't hear you at all because of the microphone and then the
Hello? Now you can.
sewer stuff.
Well,
Here, Andrea.
can you hear me, Mark? Okay.
Yes.
So under recycling, the practical implication, for instance, in all restrooms, that to any town office restrooms where we have ton of paper towels, would that include a switch over to like electric hand dryers?
Well, you can't recycle used paper towels, so that wouldn't be a recyclable.
So it wouldn't be covered. So in our single use, our desire to reduce single usage of anything, and don't we want to go to renewable rather than creating more garbage? I mean, how far out does this focus and translate into behavioral changes for us as a community? I'm thinking of paper usage. So when we have the options, having had to outfit medical offices where it wasn't just paper, we were looking at spread of contamination issues. We switched everything to hand dryers years ago,
Yeah,
a
most
decade ago. So it fits, doesn't it fit with our net zero? I mean, how would an issue like that fit into this logic? Is my question, because I want to test behavior against policy, coming at it from the other end.
Well, that's a real interesting
It is.
specific thought about the restrooms, and I don't know. There's different theories, okay, about paper towel use in the bathroom versus hand dryers, because one uses energy, the other uses
They both use
paper
energy.
product,
Right.
and now you're competing as to which one is actually more environmentally sustainable or better.
So park that, just,
so-
just parking lot question. As we go through policy, I'd like to know what are the real-life impacts when we adopt this? And initiatives that we're already thinking about or working on, how do they fit in this framework? So the other one was, we keep talking about net zero, but there's nowhere in this, when we say non-fossil fuel-based energy systems, there's no mention of the net zero goal down in the weeds.
Okay.
And I,
Are you
again,
jumping to a different section? I'm
well, no,
sorry,
it was on page 3 in the packet we were given online.
Page 3.
And Molly's printing it
Sustainable.
now, so.
That's great.
Sustainable
the-
construction.
And under water conservation, I'm just blowing through my
Go ahead.
questions. Yeah, under water conservation, with all the different tools about plantings, there's nothing that refers to actual landscape design like what Peter demonstrated over here where you terrace. So I would like to add landscape design into the toolbox
Great,
because it wasn't referenced anywhere.
great.
No, this is like,
Keep going.
well, and then I have little edits under that in terms of, under the mowing section and all that. So it says, on page 16 in our old packet that we had to review, it says not to something left to mulch. And I think we want to remove the negative and just say left to mulch, leave grass clippings left to mulch. And take out
Where
the
are
other
you on
language.
that? Where does
It was
that?
page 16 in our other packet.
Wi-
I know, I'm sorry, I'm all over the place.
I can't.
I'm assuming that has to do with the fertilizer pesticide policy. I don't remember that being.
Well, it's probably turf management. It could also be under turf management.
Yeah, that's under the existing. So anything there, yeah, that wouldn't have been new language. So let me find that. Hold on.
And also in our turf management section, there is a call, since this policy was written, about using clover, not just certain kinds of grasses, but clover, other things, that lines us up closer with our pollinator pathways. It's that kind of stuff.
So we've got this version.
Okay, let's go, yeah.
You want to maybe start from the top
You
again?
take it, I'm just
No,
throwing
that's
the.
good. So, Mark, I'm
questions
gonna,
out.
we've got the latest and greatest version that you posted. So we're back to recycling. So we're at 4.1, recycling commitment. And I think at the bottom, you were gonna talk about the environmental
Single use too.
preferential purchasing, and then Andrea's raising single use. So,
Or-
So 4.1 recycling commitment comes from your existing policy language generally. 4.2 and 4.3 are language coming from mostly a template from the Department of Environmental Protection. We are required to adopt this language to continue to be eligible for grant funds through the SMRP program. And don't ask me what that stands for because I don't know off the top of my head.
it's okay.
But so that language mostly comes from that, except for in 4.3, the last
4.2.
bullet.
Go back.
4.3, last bullet says prioritize locally sourced products to reduce the impacts of long distance shipping.
Nice,
That is an addition that we've made internally.
nice.
Can we stop and ask questions?
Please, absolutely.
4.2, so how do we deal with this? Was another policy issue of single-use carry out. Now, we don't do carry out, but we carry in single-use plastic, restaurant, food stuff.
See, that's not for us because policy, remember, is focused on
Our-
internal operations of how staff are operating, right? So,
But when we go to purchase any kind of containers, when we are hosting, like Taco Tuesday, right? When we participate as an entity, a municipality, in the purchasing, are we going to prefer to work with providers who have compostable containers? Because we haven't yet
Yes.
generated that out to the community as a bylaw all over town, but we've got to start it
The
internally.
next to the last bullet, it does say, under preferred purchasing, prioritize purchasing products that are durable, long-lasting, reusable, refillable, and avoid single use.
But they don't say composting. Compost.
What would you like, where would you,
Well, I would just, again, it's how we have these great policies, but
remember-
they don't connect to our behavior.
remember, we actually have to be composting to make that work, right? We can buy compostable materials, but if we're not, and you'll see in another section,
That's right.
we're not composting, it doesn't matter if they're
Knits it
composted.
together.
right?
But,
Yeah.
Mark, just so you know, many of us, including Michael, who's not here, have been aware of single-use plastics in all aspects of our communal life, right? And so where do we start at the policy level to prefer to work with procurement of compostable or biodegradable or other where do we begin to stop and take responsibility for the town's actions with this?
well, that's what this does.
I know. So where do we fit in that kind of thing?
Well, again, if we vote this and say this is a preferred purchasing practice, I mean, that bullet's pretty clear.
Yeah, so even if we say, or prioritize purchasing products, so reusable, refillable, compostable,
There we
and
go.
avoid purchasing.
Okay.
So the last two bullets
Yep.
in this, prioritize locally sourced products to do.
I would only add that, sorry to interrupt you,
Yeah,
but it appears that this bullet is talking about how do you avoid single-use products, and a compostable product is a single use generally. So just cautioning where you're putting that language.
got it. And you're
So maybe
talking,
we-
these are long-term products, right, got it. So
Yeah,
how about
so
this?
maybe-
Just skip
maybe
to the
we add
bottom.
we
If
can
you-
add another.
Or to the bottom, because the the opportunity, you know, napkins, paper plates that the town uses up, paper towels, locally sourced products to reduce the impacts of long-distance shipping and solid waste.
Okay,
Somehow, you know, more solid waste issues or whatever. You know, I'm sure you can, but you just tuck it in down there, so if somebody says they have the policy to cover their actions.
you follow that, Mark? So under 4.3, the last bullet that starts prioritize locally sourced, just add after shipping and solid waste.
Solid waste.
So it's to reduce the impacts of long-distance shipping and solid waste generation.
Yeah, we needed that last word.
Can I add one suggestion?
Sure.
I added that, and I also typed out a second bullet after that that says, when appropriate, the town will purchase compostable products when purchasing single-use products related to food consumption.
Food, and yeah, that's great.
Good.
Something to add to make sure we're capturing that food composting
Nice.
that Andrew is getting at.
Cool, thank
Got
you.
it. Okay, so then food waste composting is a whole separate paragraph.
Yes.
It's a good segue.
And I will say, you know, that this one is a little bit of a challenge, but obviously nothing is not doable, but we need to be mindful. And Rich Waldo had made some comments
Yeah.
and it was included in your folder about how do we implement this? And I've had those same concerns of just like, realistically, how are we going to do this? And really, it's just simply getting a food composting bin at each of the facilities. We just need to work out the logistics and the costs associated with that. But I want to see this happen. You know, you think about food waste at the fire rescue station, the police station, a 24/7 operation.
Yeah.
People are eating there. You think about town hall, if people have lunch here. You know, there's some of those key buildings that staff are producing food waste that we could divert. So I think that this is a good start and just needs to be explored a little bit further with staff. But I just want to raise that as a
Board of Health
concern
involved?
we've had.
Yeah, has Board of Health had a chance to take a look at this one?
No,
Okay,
no.
go ahead, Matt.
I just on the, Mark, on the general subject of composting, and we're talking about food composting here. The other kind of composting, which is basically the creation of leaf litter and things like that out of brush that's chopped up and then cooked to a certain temperature and all that sort of stuff, which is what people in town, you know, could avail themselves of in lieu of fertilizers and things like that around their houses. And we've talked about this for a while, and I just, you know, the food composting, I don't know what the outcome of food composting is, whether we truck it away or whether we're trying to create something that's, you know, usable by the people in the town, but also beyond food, there's all sorts of other stuff that is brought down to the dump that in my opinion, should be turned into usable material that the people of the town can have.
Yeah, well, I can tell you, food waste composting is a waste diversion tool. It's a very heavy material
Yeah.
that ends up in your trash, you know, collection system that creates a higher cost
Right.
for the town, right? So you have that component, but you also have the environmental component of this material that is full of carbon, right? And so diverting that out of the waste stream and turning it into usable soil, which, for example, the food waste composting bin at the transfer station is collecting that food waste and gets trucked away to a facility where they turn that into quality soil, right? And so you don't want that facility on the transfer station's property composting food waste because it is smelly and you have a lot of neighbors there. So
And rats.
that type of composting you take that away and it's done somewhere else at a facility appropriate.
And that's fine. I kind of figured that was it, but we did talk, whenever we've talked about the fertilizer and those kind of environmental initiatives, we always talked about trying to make alternatives available to people for use, rather than having them feel the need to buy fertilizers and apply it. And that was, I think, in the long run, something that I had hoped the transfer station program could be creating.
So I'm suggesting that 11 on fertilizer, pesticide, herbicide use might be the place to enhance or
11,
of
I've done this one.
what you've got from Mark in terms of this omnibus policy. So Lynn, you were going to add, please, come up to the mic. It'll help all of us.
Thank you, Lynn Bruneau.
11.1.
On 5, food waste composting, all town-owned buildings and facilities.
Right.
So
Right.
application to the elementary school.
That's exactly the email
So,
we got.
and anything else that talks about all town-owned buildings and facilities. And I know that there's, in a number of these, it has a little small adjective, all new town-owned buildings, all new, but just cautionary note on the application to the elementary school and,
Others.
well, and then things like the Council on Aging and the actual
That would-
execution, the operability of some of the,
Yep.
Well, the
Go ahead,
phasing
Mark.
period.
Yeah, but, from what I'm told, the elementary school is already doing this. And I would say that we would absolutely want this to apply to
Right.
the Council on Aging building. They're producing a lot of food. And so diverting that into a food waste composting system as opposed to into the dumpster is really the premise behind what we're trying to do here. So,
So I think the only,
yes, it would apply, but, there is reference in the last section about, it says temporary exemptions may be granted. Maybe we change that a little bit.
right, and that would address Rich's concerns, because he can see a need for some maybe near-term, adjustments. So,
Just, I mean, so I think there's really two things we're talking about here. One is pulling weight out of the solid waste bill that we have to pay at the transfer station, which food composting does. But the second part of it is creating compostable material for use in town. And I think
yeah, I think 11 can cover that. Yep. So, Mark, I think the only other thing on 5 on the food waste composting, and frankly, the entire omnibus policy, but it would be good to make sure that when this goes in our final packet for a vote, we do share this for any additional comments, like with Board of Health and Rich Waldo from his standpoint.
Absolutely.
Because I don't want anyone to say, you didn't even ask us,
Yeah,
you know?
they have to be
Yeah.
able to comment.
Yeah. So the next one, if we could move on, 6, and Mark, I did add
Yeah.
an important item that I think, we got to be explicitly clear on the sustainable construction renovation. The second bullet under new construction, I want you to add the following, just as a parentheses, where it says require all electric building systems. So again, this is in new construction of town-owned buildings. Add the provision that says except to allow fossil fuel use for backup generation for public safety facilities.
Yes, that is in under 6.3. We added that statement.
Oh, you got it there, okay.
That's
Yeah,
right at the
but-
bottom,
but let's-
installation or
but-
replacement of fossil fuel. That's fine, that's good.
Yeah.
There is just
Let me just
nothing.
make sure that makes sense, though. I just want to,
Yeah,
while we're on that,
I mean,
want to
we're-
make sure that's,
Yeah, where my language came from was actually, I think, the 2022 statute, the climate bill.
yeah.
So, I don't know about you guys, if you're okay. I kind of prefer my exception to be right there when we talk about electric buildings.
Because
Well, it
it's
could be in
public
both,
safety
it could be in
driven.
both places.
It could be both,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, but it's a public safety priority
Right.
that trumps our transition to net zero.
Right. Well, it's,
It goes beyond public safety, though.
right.
Because, if town hall went down,
You got to have power.
and people have to run their
Yeah.
Yeah, but
workstations and
that's,
things.
yeah, public,
And when you think of the carbon emissions for a generator to run for even worst case 3 days,
right.
it's not running 365 days, 24
It's
hours.
for backup generation.
Backup only.
It's backup generation.
Okay. So, Mark, I think on that, if you could put that into, that would,
Yeah, I would like to change the order of that. I think it needs to be more prominent, like you're pointing out, Kevin. So I'll figure a way to bring that up more clearly.
okay.
And can I add on 6, in the introduction, we are trying to be a climate leader community. We've made that pledge. So should that, if you don't want to use the words net zero, towards our goal of net zero or towards our commitment as a climate leader community, all new town-owned buildings. Do we need to emphasize that in this policy, that we're working towards something? Because that's very
Up to you
different than the
folks, I
food
mean-
waste. Sorry?
I would say it's up to you as a board how you want to lay that out.
I think it can't hurt if somebody's looking as, why are we pushing this? It's more expensive, dot, 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 dot. It's our upfront investment that sustains the community.
I like it.
It's a simple tag to remember why.
So I don't know if you caught the specific edit suggestion, or Andrew, do you want to?
Well, whatever you want, that Orleans, because Orleans is working, Orleans has committed to be a climate leader community,
Well, I would,
all new
I would
town.
say we haven't committed to that. We worked towards it. We're in a pause, right? Because there's a component that's failed at town meeting. So how do we? I don't want to say that the board has been working towards that, but we've put that on the back burner.
Yeah,
So how
that's
do
fair. That's completely fair, Mark. But we've got those pieces that still have to fall into place, like the facility study and all that stuff. So why are we pursuing that? We've got these 3 pieces that are moving forward to get us there. Why are we doing it as a community? In your perch as the assistant town manager, why do you think we're doing it?
So I think, Mark, she's adding, I can't put words in your mouth, but before it starts all new town buildings, just a few words before to say, as the town advances climate resilience and
Or net zero? Well, it
net
says
zero
there.
goals,
Right.
comma, all new town buildings shall be, that sort of
Is
thing.
it aligns with the state net zero goals? It could be that we recognize the state as heading if we don't want to put it directly on the town.
You got that?
Yes, I understand.
Look how
I-
uncomfortable I'm making him.
Oh, no, I'm just thinking that the purpose, section 1 highlights the reasons why we're doing these things. And so I feel like we should maybe expand
It kind
in
of
that
already
area.
Yeah, it says it
No,
there.
like,
say
it
it
doesn't,
I think that kind of
Right.
stuff should be.
Okay, never mind.
One paragraph in the beginning.
That's
It's-
fine. It's
and
just
that's
not,
what it
that's,
is.
yeah, that's fine.
I mean, the words say, Town of Orleans is committed to being a leader on Cape Cod in the environment stewardship and climate resilience.
You know, when we get to that line item in new construction, they're going to go, why do we need this,
And
right?
then remember to go back
To the front of the paragraph. I got
Okay.
it.
But on that subject, I just want to say, the policy here is saying that government, that town projects, building projects, will follow the specialized stretch code, not the existing stretch code. So we would be going beyond, we'd be going into where town meeting has not been willing to go on town buildings.
That's interesting.
And,
so that's a point that I was going to raise as something to discuss, right? Because it is suggesting that we're going beyond the code that.
Right.
What I would say is that
Currently.
I think this should be an aspirational
Yes.
thing rather than the town will, endeavor to.
Strive.
Or strive or
Yeah.
whatever. And if this was in place when we were doing the fire station, we'd be having difficult conversations.
I push back a little on that because,
Well, maybe,
Well,
okay.
yeah.
well, the opt-in specialized codes primarily is to do what we define net zero to be just at our last meeting.
And that's why I was thinking,
think-
put the net zero in.
Well,
Right.
actually,
Bite the bullet and put it in.
Yep.
just
Well, that is true, yeah.
my takeaway from that whole conversation was that net zero has nothing to do with building code at all. All it has to do is that you're
Right.
generating enough,
That's right.
um,
So do we include it in this policy? Because
Well, the
that's,
specialized stretch code requires net zero for
right,
projects that are using fossil fuels in them,
Right.
right? So you've got to create more electricity. If you're going to if you're going to produce or construct a facility with fossil fuels, you need to include solar to essentially make it
net
a
zero.
net zero building, right? So, I mean,
So do
Our-
you go back to the top of that and say net zero at the beginning of this whole thing?
Well, that's more in renovation and construction. See, the purpose is very overarching.
Right,
I don't think you want to put net zero there, but
except it mentions construction and renovation
does.
standards,
it does.
greenhouse gas reduction,
Mm-hmm.
water conservation. It does, again, if not having to bury it over and over again, if you put it up front, it's there.
I do think it may belong in new construction. I think that the select board is committed to
Yeah, that's-
new construction being
I'm
net
happy
zero.
if it's called out there.
I think it better belongs in new construction,
Okay.
Mark.
Yeah, because I can tell you renovation work,
Yeah.
major renovations is very difficult
Yeah.
to retrofit a building into becoming a net zero.
And you have no laws to help support that.
Right.
I mean,
So
the
if-
state is not,
Let's put it in there and move on then.
okay. So
So,
we'll,
so simply adding a bullet here
Yep.
under 6.1.
okay. So we've got 7, water conservation.
Let me catch up. And you've got the thing about, yeah, it's right in there, drought tolerant
Exactly.
landscaping is right there.
Then we've got the cleaning products. Then the zero emission policy,
Which is, we've already adopted.
adopted
The
that.
fleet policy.
can I just, on the water
Please.
conservation thing, I don't really want to go too far down the rabbit hole on this, but one of the things we've talked about is having the billing, the water billing that comes out of the water department be structured in such a way as to encourage conservation.
Yes.
When in fact, we have a
Upside down.
department that needs water consumption in
Right.
order to pay its bills. And that conflict is kind of out there as nobody's quite got a good answer for that yet.
The way our water is,
But in other words, what I'm saying is one of the tools in water conservation will be water pricing out of the water department,
right.
if we chose.
So can that go like my parking lot note as a future discussion for the select board with the water department to address that? Because now you're talking about an action to follow a policy. Conservation policy. We have the water.
Lynn's coming up again. Go ahead, Lynn.
Isn't the Waterworks study that's currently underway supposed to address factors like that and gives consideration? I believe it is. It's in process.
Right.
Yeah, this,
Looking at seasonal concepts and that type of thing, and drought impactors
Right.
and that type of thing.
right.
But that would all fall kind of under the subject of billing, right? I mean, or rate structure.
It's look at the rate structure and options and those types of things and
Really is what
various
generates-
climate impacts and that type of thing.
Rate structure generates consumer behavior,
Yeah.
or not.
And that's all I'm saying is we don't talk about
about
it
it.
here.
Okay?
So do you want a mention of the actual as rate structure as a tool in this
That's-
document?
There we go. I think,
May-
Mark,
May I just say,
Yes.
I'm just going to throw this out there. This is talking about the town's operations and how we use water as a town government.
Okay.
yeah,
That's the only, I just put it there.
And we don't see a rate structure because we don't get bills for our water use.
Okay,
Just saying.
yeah,
Yeah, that's
I see what
Good
Mark's
point.
saying. Yeah.
What's that, Lynn?
The town doesn't get billed, but the town can be a role model.
Exactly, yes.
That's the challenge, because people drive by and they see sprinklers going at the
Right,
ballpark,
Right.
and that they're not allowed to water at home, and it's like,
Yeah.
my tax dollars at work.
Not the best example.
The
Thank you.
turf
You-
All right.
Would it may be helpful to explicitly say under here in one of these bullets that the town municipal operations will follow restrictions put in place by
There we
the
go.
water and sewer commissioners?
Excellent.
yeah.
All nods from the table here.
Okay, good.
Well, and I guess, I don't know if you want to include in that statement the fact that that includes private wells as well as public water supply.
Is the town on private
Well,
wells?
but it would be, if the
Well-
town were to build, were to drill a well,
Okay,
it would be
Well,
subject.
doesn't these most recent set of guidelines or requirements require that for both
yeah, it does.
private and town?
Well, that's unclear to me, because as I understood it, the town has its own, drought restrictions in place, but that the state is the one that covers that use of private wells. And it isn't something that the town is really, I think, empowered to enforce. That's just
Again-
my understanding.
Again, Mark's remind us, this is for town
Town,
Right.
use. This is not to
Yeah.
send a message out. That's the Water and Sewer Board. But again, we're setting an example. So I think, Mark, you've got some edits there.
Kevin, can I just ask one question?
Sure.
On the, we get this question on water and sewer on the sprinkling of town property.
Right.
Does that then include also Eldridge Park for purposes of the baseball field?
That's,
That's a big,
it's turf management.
no, but I think that's gonna be a big issue.
That's the big one.
Right, no, but I'm saying, I think that's, again, thinking about all ramifications and the domino effects of how does that affect their operations of the baseball field. That's gonna be something we will hear about, would be my guess. So and to your point though, Mev, on the rate structure, that's been sort of bubbling, sorry for the water. That's been bubbling around through the commission for a while to figure out how, and it sort of gets to the point of all the conversation of how is it that we affect people's behavior? And so that's been there, but we haven't had the data that we needed to be able to figure out what was gonna be the right structure to do.
okay. So I'm going to try to move us along because I did say to Molly, I thought we'd be quick on these. So Kevin Higgins is here waiting. Sorry, Kev. We'll get you by 5.
I'm retired.
No, we'll get to you by 4. We'll be done by 4.
So we've got cleaning products. I think we're okay with these. Zero emission vehicle policy. This is just a cut and paste, right, Mark?
Yes.
Yes. Some of us have lived with this for a while.
Right, so we can zip all the way through that unless you have edits, because this would be fine. Native plantings is also a cut and paste, right?
Correct. I wasn't touching that one.
Yeah.
Okay,
Turf management is where I have questions. Just a few.
on which page? No, or which,
page it
no, which sub,
It's part of the fertilizer, pesticide, and herbicide use policy. It's
Okay.
on number 11.4.
Okay.
Looks like.
so 11 is the section we're in now, which is fertilizer, pesticide, and herbicide use. So purpose is there, goals are there. I'm with you, Andrea, 11
Yeah,
and 3.
mowing. I'm looking for the edit.
Applicability says athletic fields, playgrounds, memorial squares, cemeteries, roadsides.
And you do soil analysis.
Is the turf management.
Right.
Select Board Park Commissioners hereby adopts the following best practice, requires adherence to practices by any town employees or private contract working on behalf of the town. Soil testing, We good? Soil biology, topsoil and site prep, grasses.
It
then
was
maintenance.
practice.
Okay, go ahead, Andrea. Maintenance practice.
Yeah, no, I'm just looking. There was a thing about mowing. So there are all these specifics, Mark.
It's the last bullet in 11.4.5.
No, yeah.
Mowed clippings should not be
Be
bagged
right.
and should be
Should
Should
left
be
to
mulch,
mulch.
yeah, mowed clippings left to mulch, but in above that, but right above that, when we get that precise with standards, what happens as a policy when those standards are updated by other bodies? So, so as a policy, it made me a little nervous that it was so precise here.
Yeah, I mean, this is existing from a time before I was
know.
here, so I don't know, I
So-
can't speak to the,
But can we find out what this standard is referenced from and say, and updated as necessary? So we're not locked into something where new evidence changes the
Okay.
statute,
So,
the practice.
Mark, I
Or
think,
leave an authoritative reference, so that you use the reference that gets updated, and
Yeah.
we're not
We-
stuck with.
We need to grow
Like
with
locked
the standards, that's all.
okay.
Could we, on the prior page, change select men to select
Yeah.
We
board?
got,
I caught that
I
one.
didn't even see that one.
Wherever that-
That's a little dated.
still-
What's on the
crops
next
up.
page?
Right, it's
11.5.
Thank God there's another woman.
Mark,
coming.
another global to replace
yeah, it's
select
just the
men.
carryover from the
Yeah.
existing language, yeah.
So I think you heard what Andrea said before the mowed clippings bullet, that whole
Whatever.
turf height bullet.
Cited from.
Could we just get a cite to best practices and refer to it instead of being so specific?
That's it, so the policy doesn't have to be.
I mean, yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I
just-
think-
Where I'm getting that site, help me with that part.
DPW, go to DPW, find out where they got it.
Or John Janelle. I mean, they have seasonal best practices for mowing and no mow.
Yeah.
So I'd say you got Rich or John Janelle or both.
Because, I don't know if you remember, we used to hear these reports, maybe it was a planning board. We were like agony about all this turf stuff.
Yeah. So we got the watering irrigation, that's pretty much consistent with what we strive to do, right?
But to Mary's point, is this where we need any kind of reference that irrigation will be subject to water drought policies?
So this
because we're
refers-
exempted.
This refers back to, it's going to apply, the water conservation section is applying to this as well, right? So how does this language mesh with what we just talked about in the water conservation?
So do we
It
strike
actually
this?
says the same thing.
Yeah, so strike it.
The other thing, rather than just strike it, because it does have a lingering effect, is just take this two sentences and just point to. Irrigation shall be consistent with, and point back to the first time we talked about irrigation.
Yeah, that's fine, because otherwise it's redundant.
However you want to do it, Mark.
Yeah, I'll just say irrigation will be consistent with
There we go.
section, let me find the number.
Yeah.
To Michael's point on the next one, fertilizer
Policy section
application.
7.
Okay.
And
Underwater conservation, policy 7. Good.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Andrew. What's
again,
next?
this is again so specific because it's about turf management. But it flies in the face of our commitment to fertilizer.
Okay, so you're on
I'm on
11.4.7,
11.4, yeah, 7.
fertilizer application.
The logic of this, because it's specific to publicly used turf fields that are part of the communal life. So is it exempted from our fertilizer policy? This is old language. 'Cause we banned fertilizers and pesticides. What's it doing here?
That isn't quite right. We allow the select board to approve the use of herbicides.
And fertilizers on those properties listed at the beginning of this section, right? They're exempted, the fields and all that
Right,
stuff.
yeah.
So then, if that's the case, these are very specific standards, so and the dates, October 31st to April 15th. Can we then refer back to best practices and assume they'll evolve? think it was, I must have been on the planning board where we had to sit through all of this stuff. Turf management at one point. Anyway, that's just a thought. You don't have to do it, but because my other concern was record keeping. Because here on 1149, we're requiring strict record keeping, but we're not asking, why is it only turf management? Where else, I mean, it's under the section of turf management, but where else do we have open record keeping about the use of pesticides or fertilizer in town?
Well, it's not open record keeping, it's someone's keeping track of,
All fields and
Management.
turf.
yeah.
But it doesn't say, what about the public gardens that we have? Why isn't it all town property when applications of pesticides or fertilizer are? We used to have specialists in turf management.
Say all town properties instead of fields and turf areas?
So I think that's where Andrea's getting to, Mark. I'm trying to take,
I guess my question is, why not? Because since this was written, we adopted a fertilizer and pesticide policy that isn't in line with, why is only this where we keep records if we now have a
and I'm
policy?
trying to translate that into what is the edit you're suggesting? And I
Well,
think
it wouldn't belong here, Kevin, because this section is only
we
about.
don't keep records anymore on these?
I'm sorry. Right now, this is referring back to the turf
I
map.
understand. Yeah.
But, so it's down in the foxhole of turf management, but what about our other public gardens in town?
Right, I'm trying to come up with words.
So I would take this out of here and put it back into the overhead of publicly managed landscaping, whether it's a turf
Where
or
does that-
not.
Yeah, what section is that?
I don't know. That's why I had a problem.
You don't like this, but you don't know where it should go.
Because we have been blind. Since we adopted that policy, we should be keeping records of when we're exempting ourselves from the policy.
Okay,
And we don't have a place where we do that. The only place that I know of is in turf management.
okay.
Let me check one thing.
Well, you can put it as a note. I mean, you don't have to solve it this moment, but it's a question.
I'm just looking back at the original language because I want to make sure that that section wasn't separate and not part of the turf management. So just 1 second.
I only have one other question, so I know we can be done by 4. For this,
I'm just trying to get it done, though.
yeah.
All of it.
Well, then Kevin gets to sit longer, and Mike.
All right,
Here we
Mark,
go.
I think we get the gist, right?
Yeah.
Andrew's trying to have record keeping of all of our fertilizer, herbicide, and,
When we exempt ourselves from our policy.
right.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Is that
Sure.
clear,
Yep.
is that clear enough for now?
Think so.
Okay, so I hate to say it, but if we've started on a roll of just isolating turf management, we've got to also revise the training paragraph, which
That's
also
right.
refers specifically to turf.
Yep.
So that's got to be fixed. Got that, Mark?
Yeah, we're gonna need to work on this.
Yep,
Yeah, because it would impact Conservation Commission, which is already keeping records,
yep. So, more work to do.
a little bit.
Well, I'm seeing more turf coming up in remaining sections. So, you guys, I'm gonna say,
Yeah, I'm good if we want to stop.
well, this is some limited progress.
May I ask just one thing?
Sure.
Section 12, which is the last section of the policy, is a new concept that I've put in here.
Where is it?
I saw that, PO request.
Like,
I love it.
so basically, if we're gonna have this policy, there needs to be a kind of a sign off to say, if you're
Yes.
doing a project or what have you, you're purchasing something, let's check to make sure
That's good.
Yeah,
at the procurement level in the town manager's office that this aligns with the policy.
yeah, I love it.
But it's redundant with 11.5 and 11.6.
Lynn is pointing out that's redundant with 11.5,
I'm sorry, 11.6 and 11.7.
11.
Just on the last page, 11.6
Oh,
and
this-
7
this-
are
12 applies,
enforcement and severability just for that section, and then
Understood,
suddenly,
but this is when a staff
12 applies to
person,
all of it.
oh, I'm just saying, you know,
this is an affirmation
I
on
don't
the
have a
purchase
problem with
order.
it.
but my concern is, for section 11, we've got specific to section 11, admin and enforcement and severability, because we brought that section over.
Right,
And that's the only one. And then suddenly, then we have 12, we have policy enforcement. So that's what I'm just saying, is like, it's,
Are you
got
saying that policy
enforcement
enforcement
twice.
belongs higher up or in a different place?
so,
I'm,
what are we trying to enforce? The whole policy?
Right.
Or just a section
I
of the
view
policy?
it as the whole policy.
Yeah, me
My
too.
point.
Yeah.
So why have enforcement in 11.6
Oh,
when we
okay,
have it in 12?
there we go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And then back to your concern and Andrea's concern about having turf management in one section. Question I would have, and Rich Waldo isn't here, but we've also got under native plant policy, site planning and maintenance. So do we have area of town by area of town planning for the area of town? Or should we, and therefore have rule sets that apply and management that applies that would include the planting as well as the fertilizer, as well as the whatever, so that we had the strategy laid out by geography in a way, or
It's
sections,
specific.
so that it could pull it out of these individual policy sections and have an overall concept.
Yeah, I can see definitely, Lynn, what Lynn's suggesting,
In his
Mark,
spare
is
time, you can do that.
have an overall policy, but at the same time, as even Molly knows, is perhaps on the Conscom properties specifically,
Right.
they may have their own.
Management plans specific
Right,
to,
they still can point
They do have
to
their own.
the overarching policy that they're
Right.
consistent with. So that's kind of the suggestion, that's a really good one, Mark, is to how do we say these are general policies that can fit with more case-specific,
That's right.
right,
Like the library garden,
an overall
Yeah,
thing.
ever
exactly.
fertilized,
yeah, or if you
or
have,
the COA.
or the roadie gardens that are more specific.
That's right.
Right.
Okay,
You got it.
all right. So good suggestion, Lynn, thank you. So Mark, I think Lynn's trying to simplify and remove 11.6
Yep.
admin. If we've got a overall enforcement,
Or take
you might just beef up the section 12,
12 with the concerns.
pick
that-
up any pieces that were in 11.6.
Yeah.
We don't want to duplicate enforcement at the sub-level.
Right.
Yeah, there's another section that's different in the zero emissions vehicles
Right.
first policy that is an additional requirement specific to purchasing trucks or vehicles, so that's
So then-
different.
Cut
But
that
I'm
out
not-
of there, and you can drop it into enforcement here, and just say specific to,
This is a procurement
Yeah.
issue as well.
yeah, it really is,
And it will correct the
Behavior,
tunnel,
right.
the-
pulls them all together.
yeah, and add supervision. Because right and left hands didn't know
Good.
what was going on. Good. Okay,
Progress, you guys?
yes.
Slow but sure? Okay. So, again, May 9th, workshop at 3. I promise you, working with Mark, Laura, Molly, will actually be more organized. I want to make sure we get your last input. Seriously.
But if we can have the documents.
That's
sooner,
what I said. We'll
yeah.
get better organized to have things.
Mike is raising his.
May 6th.
Oh, thanks, Mike.
So we'll have a 3 o'clock start on May 6th, and then a 5 o'clock.
Right, May 6th, thank you. That's 3 o'clock, Select Board Policy Workshop goes to 5, 3 to 5. Okay. If folks are comfortable, I'm going to segue out of policies and move to support placement of signage for Veterans Memorial Park by the Orleans Veterans Committee. Kevin Higgins is here.
With photos, glossies.
Nice.
One more rendering, there's two.
God, this looks so much better, Kevin. I didn't like,
Look at this.
You know what was amazing for me was I had gone back to Dave Hawk's designs or drawings to take a look at how he had originally put the sign in there, and I was amazed at how close and accurate the park actually turned out.
That's great.
And that drawing was done 3 years prior.
Yeah.
So I'm amazed at his foresight.
Great.
Just amazing.
the mock-up in our packets didn't do justice,
Oh,
so that's.
I have lots of copies in the truck.
I love this. You got the Kwanzaa cherries in bloom, you know,
Exactly.
which will be happening momentarily.
It will be. Thank you for having me, and thank you for wedging me into your program. Again, I don't want to beleaguer anything, but Tom Blute had contacted me and asked me about the signage for the park. And at that point, I said to myself, it's not our park, and I don't want to make a unilateral decision, and I don't want to put something in the park that the select board would turn around and say,
Never.
we didn't agree to that. So Tom went ahead, you have the, in your packet, the drawing that he has. A little bit of backstory, the sign itself, the memorial, the stone, is actually leftover stone from the World War I monument when he redid it, which is 100-year-old pink westerly granite from Rhode Island. So the idea is that he would manufacture this sign from that existing granite that we already own. So we don't have to purchase that. Really, the only cost is cutting and engraving the stone itself. He would make some special cuts and make it elevated.
Right.
Going back to Dave Hawk's design, if you take a look at it, it looks very similar. The Dave Hawk's design looks very similar to some of the other monuments in the park. So what Tom wanted to do was make the sign look a little bit different and unique from the actual monuments. That's why he put it on two pedestals. The brackets on either side that would hold the stone would be very similar to the brackets that he fabricated for the World War I. So it would be similar in that design to give it strength. And again, it would be in the same spot that Dave Hawk had identified in that architectural drawing from 3 years ago. An added benefit to that, not to be too long-winded, but again, Tom Blute, he's an expert in this stuff. He said that the rear of the sign, we could have engraved in there names of donors and people that have contributed to getting the park to where it is. And it wouldn't be an in-your-face type thing. It would be on the back of the sign, so anybody walking through the park could catch it as they walk by. And it would not be something too intrusive to the park itself. That's pretty much it. I don't know if you have any other questions of me, but again, my kids gave me a shirt years ago for my birthday. It said, hang on, let me overthink this.
Yeah.
And I do that a lot. And like I said, the thing I got caught up in is we need to get a sign permit to put the sign in there, but then that's the 501c3. And then I said, no, this is the town's park, this is the selectmen's. So here I am.
This is permanent.
I do
permanent
think
marker.
that this needs to go
Sign?
to the
ARC?
Architectural Review Committee, though. I mean, that's just the process for all signs.
Sure.
And I don't think there would be any problem there. But the interesting question is whether there's any, the code is pretty specific about sizes and all that sort of stuff. So you might just want to see if this is compliant to that.
No, absolutely. And if you look at, I think it's one of the drawings or pictures, I'm not sure which one Molly has. If you look to the left, if you have the same, this is the actual picture. Right here is an electrical handhold. So when the time comes and we want to entertain some kind of uplighting for the sign itself, it's already there.
Downlighting. Just to be,
Yeah, the
Downlight.
only uplighting really should be of the flag.
Okay.
It's in our sign bylaw. You know, you're pointing out, and if any of us drive around at night, we have more uplighting occurring beyond belief that is not really allowed in this town.
I think, and again,
It's a
I don't-
segue.
I'm not quite sure, but I know that the plan was to have low voltage lighting on all the monuments, so there was very little draw. But again, we can cross that bridge when we get close to it.
I guess I had one.
Please.
I really like this sign, I like this, and I like the simplicity of it. The only thing that I was wondering, and then you got into like using the back of the monument, it's nice on these things to have a little bit of history on it, like created in, you know, what year or that sort of thing. And
Absolutely.
it doesn't have to be big, but people 50 years from now might actually find that valuable.
Oh, absolutely, and I agree 100%. One of the nice things about it is the sign itself is a relatively good size. As you can see, it's 33 by 24. And the letters on the front that he's shown here are the 4-inch letters. He said that he could drop them down to 3/4 of an inch high. So we could get quite a bit written on the back of the monument if we did want to try to get some form of history in there.
Kevin, this is what we got.
That's,
But this is, what you've got going is it's seated down on the earth. not
that's
above it.
correct. That's the drawing that,
Yeah.
that was what Dave Hawk had envisioned. And of course, when Tom Blute took a look at the architectural drawings, he said that signage looks a little bit too much like the other memorials, so let's make it unique. And that's why he came up with the pedestal and the raised, and you can see underneath.
And I do think the pedestal could also be a place where that sort of information could be put.
Yeah.
And not get involved in the sign at all.
Yeah, I know, and then the pedestals are made from the same material from the World War I, leftover material from the World War I, which is, as I said before, 100-year-old granite, and we own it, so why not use it?
But I'm totally fine with this.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve, as submitted, the signage for Veterans Memorial Park
At Academy Place.
at Academy Place.
And I'll second that, but I think we should include in there, subject to
Review by ARC.
review by, you know, proper permitting.
Yeah.
Just for clarification, would you like me to put that in to the building department for signage, or?
I've heard everything said. I would just want to check and see if in fact this fits Architecture Review's definition of sign. So I think all you need.
Davis Walter
Yeah,
is the one to
consult with
answer that.
Davis as to any further approvals necessary. I don't remember the Architecture Review bylaw. I'm looking at Mike Solitro to see what they have domain over. I'm not sure if a memorial really comes into their bailiwick, but
And also within an existing park.
Yeah, it may not be, but I think we should.
if required,
So can I readjust my?
Sure.
I move that we approve the Veterans Memorial Park at Academy Place as submitted, and request that if any further approvals are needed, that we support that process for the Veterans Memorial Park Committee.
Actually, just a quick question, and I don't mean to step out on any toes, but there is a bit of a cost involved in this, and I just want to make sure, that, the engraving, cutting, setting, things like that.
Do we have an estimate?
I have $8,600. Now, that being said, I have spoken to the 501c3, and they are willing to participate in this cost. But again, it's the 501c3, this is the town sign, the town's park, so I want to make sure that,
Well, that's a wrinkle.
Is the CPC money all used?
yes, it has. And I've been told that this would be a good use of CPC funds in the future going forward. So again, perhaps I can get a bit of a conglomeration of, different,
So let me limit my, one more time. The design is approved.
yeah, we're not talking
Yeah,
any money at
any
this
money.
point.
No,
It
that's
wasn't
right.
even in the packet.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
So I move that we approve the design for the Veterans Memorial Park at Academy Place and support any further approvals necessary via the opinion of the building commissioner.
Moved,
Second?
seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, 300.
Yeah, talk about
Thanks, Kev.
overthinking.
Perfect. Thank you very much. I
Okay.
appreciate it. And thank you, too, for using the park for the cover of the town report. I was thrilled when I saw that. That was awesome.
How could we not?
Exactly. All right, Mike Solitro, you're our last item on the agenda today. Thanks, Kev.
Good afternoon. As part of the packet, there is a draft uniqueness determination for the portion of the parcel at 48 Eldridge Parkway. This helps with the one of two paths as far as procurement. This allows us to post, once that determination is finalized, post the town meeting warrant. We will place that determination in the central register. It will remain active for 30 days, at which point we can move forward with the transaction, but this is required if we are going to take that path for procuring this portion.
Which, I'm ready to make a motion, I just want to make sure it's correct. Are we just deeming this to be unique, or are we supporting the letter that's been written seeking that the uniqueness be, recognized?
I think your vote, looking at paragraph 7, the select board would determine by vote that the property has unique and special qualities, including its location, and as a result, no benefit to the town will be derived by advertising it according to Chapter 30B.
Okay, that's fine.
That's what we would be
Okay.
determining, if we're comfortable with that.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, so I think everyone is aware of, particularly if you looked at Ted Gallant's presentation last time that showed, just hypothetically, should town meeting approve this, what it does to the site orientation, plan, driveway, minimizing impacts to OES. I think, I'm just talking so it's in the record, that there is no doubt, if anyone follows up and looks at this, that we have really considered how valuable and special this acquisition is to benefit all concerned. So with that said, I'll call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, 300. Thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
Last item, folks.
Mr. Chair, at 4:14, I move we adjourn.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned.